Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Do you guys remember that video of
No.
like some college professor entering the classroom every day, and he always says hello?
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, we're missing Madison and Sarah. I
Classic.
know Sarah's not coming today, but I don't know about Madison. Um, I'm gonna move pretty quickly because for some reason they've scheduled a high school faculty meeting at 2:30. I don't know why we're doing it during class, but okay. So I don't have very long with you guys today. First thing I want to tell you is that I have unlocked the final CAPS quiz, which is supposed to kind of be like a summary of what you've learned. It's 14 questions, a couple of cool things about it. Well, I'll tell you the one bad thing, which is that while I can see the answers, I can't see the questions. Or I can see part of the questions, but like if there's a paragraph to go with it, it doesn't show me the paragraph. So that's insane. I don't understand it. But the good thing is number one, you have like 10 attempts. So there's really no reason that anyone should not get a 14 out of 14, especially considering the second cool thing, which is that I got to this one and no other quizzes had this box I could click that was like on their subsequent attempts, you can only answer the ones that you got wrong. So if you got it right, then it's behind you and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's pretty cool.
That's
Um,
pretty epic.
right? I kind of wish we had that on every quiz. Um, I keep hoping that they're gonna like unlock the 102 course, but they haven't done it yet. Just so I can kind of see what the layout is. Um, I did move one thing on our due date calendar, which is I did have the CAPS quiz due the 29th, but then I moved it to the 3rd. Um, February 5th is the end of quarter two. I have to have Trident's grades in by the 8th. So I wanted to at least like have time to put it in the grade book, and also I'll still be grading your research essays at that point. Um, Another cool bit of news is that we have like a week during which the only thing we actually have to worry about is CAPS quiz. And so like I'll probably either like take attendance and let you guys go or like put on a movie or something. So that's nice. A little break in between 101 and 102. Anyway, since you were working on your essay, this is a thing that you guys have seen before in my class. Um, Particularly those of you who were in AP last year, maybe even if you weren't in AP, but I can't recall. I posted this on D2L, my top 10 essay mistakes to avoid. And, excuse me, I'm going to share my screen with you and kind of briefly go through them and explain a little bit. And everything on here is good advice for any essay. Okay, so first thing, you guys should certainly all know this by now, the phrase in this essay. Like if you start out by saying in this essay I will talk about, it's just totally unnecessary. It sounds like you're just trying to meet a word count. um, you don't have to say I'm going to talk about this thing, just talk about that thing. And the same goes with this is why I think, particularly in their conclusions, a lot of students will do that. And first of all, we want to eliminate the first person pronoun as much as we can, and and go for that scholarly objective tone. But particularly if you spend a whole essay telling us what you think, stating that is going to sound really redundant and unsophisticated. I don't think you guys should have a problem with number two, one long paragraph. You know what MLA format is supposed to look like now. You know to break up your paragraphs. You know to start a new paragraph if you have a new idea. So y'all really shouldn't struggle with that. Um, exclamation points, and I think most of you have honed your scholarly tone enough to not struggle much with this either, but it's one of those things where we want to write like we speak, but it's not always appropriate because we don't speak in an academic scholarly tone. We speak in a really casual tone. And so like the general rule is if it sounds like something you would text your best friend, don't include it or like rephrase it. You don't need exclamation points very often at all, especially not like multiple ones. And also like slang words that we wouldn't use. A huge one, this one should be obvious, but if your response doesn't answer the prompt, and that's a big one and something that we have to be really aware of, always go back to look at the criteria for the assignment and make sure that you're answering what it's asking you to answer. I think we had some minor issues with that, particularly on the rhetorical analysis essay. Sentence fragments, again, I feel like we should be at the point where I don't have to say this, but we don't always notice when we're writing in fragments because we do speak in fragments sometimes. And it's not a big deal that we speak in fragments, but when we're writing, that's one of the things that we need to be careful about. This kind of goes along, number 6 kind of goes along with the first one, which is like, I think. You just don't need to tell us that this is what you think because obviously it's your essay. We know that it's what you think. Second person is a weird one. We don't often talk about second person, and that's whereas first person would be I, third person would be objective, they. Number 2, second person is you. Jeez, calm down. I just got an email that like I literally don't understand what the question is. Second person is when you say you, and like you'll see that in instruction manuals if you read any choose your own adventure books. Sometimes in fan fiction that's a thing, which is strange, but I guess it's so that you can like put yourself in the perspective, whatevs. But it's just a little informal, and obviously we want to be, I hesitate to use the word formal because I don't want you to think that means you have to be fancy. But you need to try to maintain that scholarly tone, which you should know about because you've taken quizzes about it. The one exception would be like in the introduction, particularly in a hook, if you're using, for first person, if you're using like a personal anecdote, or second person, if you're like asking the asking the audience to answer a question. I wish Kenzie was in this class because I would pick on her about how that's kind of her go-to move, like to open an essay with like, have you ever wondered, but like it's always a question. She puts it in second person. It's a little signature move of hers. Okay, number 8, trying to sound too fancy. And we're all guilty of this sometimes, particularly if we are trying to meet a word count. But students kind of get caught up in the idea that they're writing a formal essay and they think that that means they have to use elevated language. I would always, number 1, recommend that you read your essay out loud, which might seem a little silly or feel a little silly, but you're a lot more likely to catch mistakes that way, because you catch mistakes when you're reading someone else's work out loud. So why wouldn't that work with your own? And also, if it just sounds like something you'd never say, if it doesn't sound natural, then there's probably an issue with it. And that kind of goes into number 9. A big mistake is not proofreading your work before you submit it. If it's full of typos, misspelled words, sentence fragments, random words that don't make sense in context, stuff like that, it looks like you didn't really care enough to look over it again before you turned it in. And also, if you've gotten feedback on it from me or from the in-course tutor, the writing center, or anyone, listen to that feedback and take that advice. And lastly, number 10 is restating your introduction and your conclusion. And we went through that a lot last year, but rather than just restating what you've already said, you want to try to find a new way to frame that, or like a bigger thing that we can take away from it. What are the overall messages? You want to kind of broaden out from the specifics that you've been writing about in the body of your essay, broaden out into more general ideas. And then that's just a dumb email that Bryce sent me one time that tried to use all 10 mistakes and did a pretty good job, actually. Any questions about any of those?
The exclamation points can still be in quotes, right?
Sorry, say it again. I didn't hear the first bit.
Exclamation points can still be in quotes, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Well, I hate to cut it so short with you guys today, but this meeting got scheduled last minute, and it's super weird to me that we're doing it in the middle of class, but we gotta do what we gotta do. So tomorrow we will not meet. I'll send you another email tonight just to remind you. And I emailed your parents too, not because I hate you or you're in trouble, but just to let them know that if you're not signing into Zoom, it's not a big deal. You have something else to do. So if you have set up an appointment, or if you have made an appointment with either Elizabeth, our in-course tutor, or the writing center, make sure you just send me a quick email that says that, just so that I have, I'm going to double check with her too, but just so I have a record of that.
And do I
Okay.
have to do it twice or just once?
You're supposed to do it twice, yeah. So maybe like if you do it once, you could also like once you think you have a final draft, you could send it to them, have them look it over.
Great.
Okie doke. Well, I will see you guys on Friday then. Bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.